garage. I'm Nick, still. That hasn't changed. So with the rat rod wrapped up and put away for the winter, a couple things we'll do on it in the spring. But in the meantime, like I say, it's put away. So it meant I had an empty trailer yesterday. So I decided to bring home one of my projects. It's about the first time in about a year that I've had a real chance to actually work on something for myself, other than, little maintenance stuff here or there. That's about all I've been doing on my own vehicles, is just kind of upkeeping what's already together and on the road. This is actually a very recent purchase. I bought it off a friend of mine when he offered it to me. Recently, it's middle of November now, but beginning of October, I unfortunately was in a car accident, and that rode off my 2011 Dodge Journey I had, which is what I was driving back and forth to work. Now, a lot of people crap on Dodge Journeys, but overall I have zero complaints about mine. I actually really liked it. 283 horsepower out of 3.6 liter Pentastar V6. It had adequate space. It was a good size overall, and it averaged pretty good fuel economy for me. So I really couldn't complain about it. I did like having the Bluetooth and all that Uconnect stuff. That was kind of cool. So that was kind of unfortunate, because it only had 108,000 kilometers on it, so it really didn't have a lot of mileage on it, and I had only had it since I guess it was the end of February, beginning of March. So it left me with a bit of a conundrum, as I needed a vehicle to drive back and forth to work again. I don't like driving my Dodge Ram back and forth into the city for a multitude of reasons, mostly stemming from the fact it's big, it's heavy, and it likes its gas. So that sort of, for a vehicle you have to drive every day, kind of sucks. I did drive my Dodge back and forth into Toronto for probably a year and a half, almost, or more, throughout the time I've had it. So I decided it was time to start looking, and this time I was going to look for exactly what I wanted when I bought the Dodge Journey. Now, I bought it because it was the right vehicle at the right time for the right amount of money. So this is what I decided to replace it with. And I know what you're thinking, well, you replaced a running driving vehicle with a project. And the fact of the matter is, that is exactly what I did, and the reason for that is I looked around with what I thought was a fair budget. My budget was about $5,000. And I thought $5,000 should get me into something that's not a gigantic piece of crap. And what I found was there was nothing around for that kind of money that was not a gigantic piece of crap. Because what I wanted was a compact pickup truck that was two-wheel drive, had a manual transmission. However, I was willing to settle for an automatic transmission, and was a four-cylinder. The majority of the trucks I found that fit that category either had a ton of mileage or were gigantic pieces of crap that people wanted way too much money for. If I could have found one that was, say, $2,500 and needed $2,500 worth of work, absolutely, I would have gone that way. But the problem was, I was finding trucks that were priced at $5,000 that needed $5,000 worth of work. And I couldn't justify that. It wasn't a case of what I could afford, it was a case of what I was willing to spend. And I wasn't going to spend huge money on someone else's problems. So that's where this truck came in. My friend Ryan has been very, very good to me in the time I've known him, which is just over a decade now, I guess. And he said to me, why don't you come have a look at my truck, because I'm going to sell it, and if you want it, we'll deal on it. So that's what we did. So I'll give you a little bit more backstory here, and I'll show you a bit of the carnage of the journey, and then we'll talk about this truck specifically. So I looked at a ton of trucks, mini trucks. I looked at Rangers, I looked at Mazda B series, I looked at S10s, I looked at Colorados, I looked at Rangers, I looked at everything, you know. I even looked at Toyota Tundras, honestly, and Tacomas. Now I know the Tundra is sort of a full size, but I was looking at the earlier ones like your T1000s or what have you. I looked at them all. I was willing to look at it with an open mind. What I quickly realized was I wanted an S10 or a Sonoma or an S15. Just because, and this is where the backstory part comes in, the truck that I spent the vast majority of my formative years as a child in was a 1984 Chevy S10. It was a Tahoe with a maxi cab, two-wheel drive, 2.8 liter, and it was a truck that my grandfather ordered in 1983. Him and my grandmother went everywhere in that truck, everywhere. 500,000 kilometers worth of everywhere. And I was there for a lot of those kilometers from the day I was born on. Growing up, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, especially in the summers and weekends and stuff. So I kind of wanted an S10. When I was about 16, my dad bought an S10. My dad bought a 2001 Chevy S10, and his is an LS trim truck with a ZQ8 Sport package, sport side box, extended cab with a third door, you know, indigo blue. Really, really nice truck. And he still has that truck. And he's put a little over 100K in the time that he's had it, which is about, I guess, so I was 16 and he bought that. I guess he's had that truck for 12 years. 12 years? Yeah, because he bought it in September. I had my birthday in, yeah, okay. So 12 years, I guess. Maybe a little longer, 13 maybe. Either way, about that time, over a decade. And going back to Grandpa's truck, that was the truck that I learned to drive in. I sat on my grandfather's lap while he drove, and I steered for right up until I was old enough to sit in the driver's seat by myself and drive the truck. First time I drove that truck to town, I was 10 years old. Grandpa in the passenger seat. So the connection to S10s for me is pretty strong. You know, I used Dad's truck to get my driver's license, to do my driving test, to get my driver's license. So the first vehicle I drove was a first generation S10, and the one that I drove to get my driver's license and my first taste of freedom really was a second generation S10. So for me, looking for another vehicle, I already knew what I wanted. It was a matter of finding it and finding a truck that met my criteria. You know, I wanted a rear-wheel drive S10, I wanted a 4-cylinder, and I wanted a manual transmission. And it just so happened that the truck that Ryan had, this one, was all those things. And it was at a price point within my budget that it left me a lot of meat on the bone to be able to put into the truck to get it to where I wanted it. So that's where we're at. That's how I ended up with this truck. And this truck is a 1987 Chevy S10 EL. Now the EL was your economy model basically. Near as I can tell, the only options this truck originally had were AM/FM radio, cloth bench seat, and a back bumper. That was it. So this is a very, very base truck, which honestly, my first really good truck I had is the green, well, teal 93 Chevy Cheyenne that has been in some of the other videos. And that truck, as a Cheyenne, painted black bumpers, rubber floor covering, very basic truck. So I have a real appreciation for low trim vehicles. The car that is right to my left right now is my 1973 Plymouth Fury 1 that's been in other videos. And that car again is a very low option car, and I very much love that car. I have a real appreciation for the really mundane, plain vehicles, because unfortunately, other than a little bit of a cult following they have from a group of us, there's not a lot of people that really appreciate those vehicles for what they are. So, let's have a look at the truck. So, this is the Duke. And I'll show you in a second why I decided to call it the Duke. Now this box and tailgate we put on here. I'll show you a few photos of when we swapped everything over. So this is not original to the truck, but it's in good shape. You know, the front rail of it's a little rotten, but I cut a few pieces out of the old box that we're going to put on here. This cab is not original. This was off of an 82 S10. But all this stuff here was all included with the truck. That's why I say for the money, there was a lot of meat left on the bones for me. But here is the heart of it. That Tech4 badge on top of the air cleaner tells you, as you can see, it's a 2.5 liter Iron Duke. Now this is a manual steering truck. And it was a manual brake truck as well, which 87 was the second last year of. 88 was the last year you could get an S10 with manual brakes. Obviously, the 82 cab that's on here, that truck was a little more optioned up. It had power steering and power brakes. So it has power brakes, and that's one of the few things that I did want to change on the truck, is I wanted to put power brakes on it just to give it a little bit better drivability. But being a Tech 4, this is 92 horsepower of fire-breathing muscle. Okay, probably not, but it produces fuel economy, and that's what I want. I want a commuter vehicle. I want a vehicle to drive back and forth into the city, and 92 horsepower out of an Iron Duke is perfect. Because guys are averaging between 22 and 25 miles to the gallon average with that engine. Because this is the throttle body engine. So overall, this cab is in really nice shape, except for this stupid visor, which is going. But I mean, the rockers are nice and solid on it. This cab corner's punky, right? But Ryan has got a set of reproduction cab corners for me. And this door is a little punky right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all that out. And I'll put a patch in the corner of the door here. The reason I'm not going to replace the door is I would never get a replacement door to work as nice and line up as nice as this door does. I mean, S10s are, you know, I need to oil the hinge, but they're normally bad for saggy doors. It's hard to tell in a video, but that door is friggin' solid. Like it, these doors close better than most S10s that I can remember ever driving. Now this cab, this truck was a 1982 Chevy S10 Sport. Now the Sports were kind of cool because it came with the Sport interior package, which gives you the truck door panels and truck bucket seats, which I think are really, really cool. It also gave you this cool steering wheel, which is all chrome clad and everything. Now overall, this cab is in really good shape. Like I said, it's got, I'm going to put a set of cab corners in it. And I got to fix a little hole right in the middle of the floor right here on the driver's side. But the bonus is, by putting this cab on, because the original cab down here at the bottom where the rocker meets the pillar, that entire section of the cab was gone. I mean gone. If you open the door, the cab would just about fold on itself. So the original cab was shot. And this one is really solid. So that's why we're going to use it. Now the only thing is, I'm going to have to put the dashboard in from the 87 truck in order to make everything work properly, which is not a big deal to me. I don't mind doing that. So we'll go ahead and do that. One of the other changes I'm going to make, this transmission that's hooked up to my Iron Duke is the Isuzu transmission, which is fine and well, but it's only a 4-speed. For a truck that I want to optimize fuel mileage in, I want a 5-speed so I have overdrive for the highway. Which means I need to go ahead and get a T5 transmission, which I think I found one. I just got to get a hold of the junkyard that has it and go pick it up. Now, being that I'm building this to commute back and forth into the city with, one of the things that I'm happy about is the bucket seats with center console, because it's just a little more comfortable than a bench seat. The windshield's good, the glass is good in this truck. The windows aren't falling off the channel like most S10s are. So that's kind of nice. That's one less thing to fix. Like I said, because I got enough meat left on the bone here, means that all these cracking and deteriorating rubbers and everything here, you can buy all this crap because it's all reproduced, right? So I'll be able to spend the money in that portion of it instead. So that tire came from the junkyard, and so did the rim out of a, I believe it was an 88 S15. And then that center cap I got off Kijiji because there was only 3 of them on the truck. Now, I know you're probably thinking there's way better things to spend money on, but I mean, $10 to have 4 center caps that match is kind of nice, you know. So like I say, the cab itself is really, really in good shape. Now if I get down here picking and these rockers are not as nice as I thought or whatever, I have a set of rockers for it too. I also have a floor pan for both sides, and I mean, Ryan collected up a ton of stuff to be able to fix this truck. Now ultimately, the black and the red I really like, which means I've kind of already settled on the eventual plan being to paint it black and red. The only exception is GM painted them. This is the Sport two-tone, according to the brochure. And you'll notice they only brought it up to where the side trim would be here. Now what I want to do is bring it up to this body line here, because if I do or do not use the side trim, I think that would look better. And it gives me that option. One of the other things I'll probably do is, you see there's a pinstripe here that's red. I like that. I don't like where it is. What I would prefer to do is run the pinstripe across this part of the body line, and I'll do that again in red. Now, I know you're thinking, there's no front clip on it. What the hell? So, there is a front clip. When we switched everything over, the original fenders, inner fenders, were crap. I mean, they were shot. So there was no sense in me dragging them back here to throw them in the scrap pile anyway. So we threw them in the scrap pile, stripped off whatever was on them. The cowl is here in the back of the truck. You can see it there. And so there's both grill pieces that go underneath the grill here, that filler. There's one that came from the black cab, and there's the original one we took off the front of the truck as well. Ryan gave me a set of brand new reproduction fenders for it, and we ordered, and I went and got them from LKQ. There's a set of brand new, where the hell did I put them? There we go. Brand new inner fenders for it as well. So rather than messing around with rusty old crap, we just bought brand new stuff. Because you can. That's the whole thing about these trucks. If you want a vehicle you're going to drive for a long time, you want something that you can buy everything for. And with an S10, you can buy everything for these trucks. Everything. And none of it is overly expensive. So that's kind of the idea, right? I mean, Iron Dukes, I found 4 of them with less than 100,000 kilometers on them. And I don't think, I'm trying to think here, I think the most expensive one was $250. And that was a complete engine, from air cleaner to oil pan. Now, the other thing up front here that we were not able to buy a reproduction of through LKQ was radiator support. And it is shot. Oh boy, is it ever rusty. Both sides are really, really, really crusty. That side especially. Ooh, look at that. Gross. But like I said, standard auto wreckers, they had Sonoma up there, well, an S15, and I was able to get the rad support out of it, which it does need a little bit of repair in the bottom, but I think I paid $30 something for it. So for $30, I don't mind fixing the bottom of it, and it's way better than that one. So that's the S10. That's the Duke.